Hi,
Hi, Internet.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm John.
We're part of the creative department here at TCGplayer headquarters in lovely downtown Syracuse, New York.
Right now, it's Shadows over Innistrad preview season, which means our office is mostly this.
Oh, I can't wait to open this card at the pre-release.
Hey John, did you see this new card?
God, I hate this card.
We all love magic. It's basically all that we think about, which is good because it's our job.
We are living the dream.
We thought we'd share some of that passion with you. But first, a little background on us. I've played Magic off and on for about 20 years now, and I'm the brand manager here at TCGplayer. That means I'm also the guy who slipped the sound effects into the Anguished Unmaking video.
Must be nice to feel so free to fail.
Very funny.
I'm John. I've been playing since about 2000, so my math, that's about 16 years. I work closely with our authors, Craig, Melissa, Seth, the whole gang, to make sure everything you read on our site is awesome.
So, what can you expect from us?
Well, we're assuming you're here because you love magic.
That's right, we love it too.
So what you can expect from us is that we're going to try a lot. Too much. It might get gross.
It's not going to get gross, it's going to be great. So stick with us and you might just learn something.
Bye, Internet.
Hello, I'm Ryan Gomez.
And I'm John Kapora.
And here are all the previews we've got so far for Shadows over Innistrad as of Tuesday, March 15th.
All the previews fit to see.
Yeah, we're going to just highlight a few of our favorites, starting with Startled Awake. So for 2 blue, you get a sorcery that basically mills 13 cards off of your opponent's deck. Pay a little bit more, and then you get to put this card into play as a 1/1 creature with Skulk.
What's Skulk?
It can't be blocked by creatures that have more power than it, so it's pretty much unblockable as a 1/1, unless you've got a an 0/6 wall or something hanging out there. But if it deals combat damage to a player, you get to return this to your hand, basically setting up so that you can recast the sorcery side of the card. Okay, so where do we even begin? It hits 13 cards, which brings back Triskaidekaphobia. That's fear of the number 13. You can look that one up, which was a theme in the original Innistrad block. So this card's going to be a limited death sentence. If somebody plays it against you and your deck's only 40 cards to begin with, you're in trouble. But it's a mythic, so I don't think that's going to happen very often. Aside from that, how much are you willing to pay to run somebody out of cards? Well, it's 2 blue, plus another 3 blue to get it back into play, plus another turn to attack, then another 2 blue, which is 13 mana.
Wow.
Yeah, just to get to 26 cards. And I also hope that your opponent isn't on the fast track to Delirium, or you're going to be doing them a favor with this one.
That's a good point. So I've played against a lot of notoriously unfun limited cards. I played against Packrat, Umezawa's Jit, Grab the Reins, and by far the worst experience I ever had was when someone slammed a Jace Memory Adept against me in M13 Limited. It was the worst. So how does this card stack up against that? Well, as Ryan mentioned, milling them might end up being a drawback, and it also takes some work to rebuy it, which immediately makes it more palatable than Jace Memory Adept, so I'm happy. Just, if your opponent's got it in their deck, just make sure you can board in some 1-power creatures to block it on the second time.
All right. Let's take a look next at Nahiri the Harbinger. So for 2 red and a white, you get a Planeswalker with the following abilities. +2, discard a card, then draw a card. -2, exile target enchantment, tapped artifact, or tapped creature. And her ultimate at -8 lets you search your deck for a creature or artifact, put it into play with haste, but at the end of the turn, you've got to return it to your hand. She starts with 4 loyalty. What do you do with something like this?
I don't know, you search up Ulamog?
Search up Ulamog, yep. Oh boy. So I think her ultimate is stretching it a little bit with the color pie. Red and white don't generally do a whole lot of searching, although white can dig up artifacts out of their deck, so it's not ridiculous.
No.
Yeah, like you said, obvious targets would be Ulamog, at which point Nahiri is literally just telling Sorin, hey, if you don't clean up your mess, I'm just going to bring it right to your doorstep. So there it is.
That's a flavor win, right?
It is. I like it. So,
okay, great. Glad we're on the same page.
Of course. You can also tutor her up using Call the Gatewatch, which is in white, and you can use Oath of Gideon to give her an extra loyalty counter, and that'll make a few extra kind of defensive allies on the turn before, because she doesn't do a whole lot to protect herself, right? Which is kind of the hallmark of a good Planeswalker card. You could also go for a more removal-based strategy, bring in Oath of Chandra, but since a lot of her advantage comes from enabling madness, we need to see how many cards are in red and white that take advantage of that mechanic before we can really pass judgment on how much Nahiri is going to shake up Standard.
Yeah, I see a lot of Standard decks rolling this into play only to activate the plus ability maybe one time, and then you just get 3 minuses.
Yeah.
Nahiri only exiles tapped creatures too, so once it's in play, it's not hard for an opponent to play around.
Right.
With the recent exception of the red Devotion deck from Return to Ravnica Theros Standard, Boros decks traditionally don't have creatures worth searching up. I can't imagine a Boros deck that would just run Ulamog in it. Add that onto the fact that despite being 2 mana cheaper than Chandra Flamecaller, it's kind of fighting for the same space as her. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good. I'm notoriously bad at evaluating Planeswalkers, but this one looks pretty underwhelming. You aren't always going to want to discard a card from your hand, too. So
True.
Yeah.
Yep, and 4 mana is already pretty congested. You've got Gideon sits right there as well, and we're going to see another Planeswalker in just a minute here coming up. But before we get to that,
that was so good.
Oh, don't jump the line. First, Descend Upon the Sinful.
Best name of a card ever.
I think so. It's up there, certainly in the top 10. 4 white gets you a sorcery that says exile all creatures. And if you've got Delirium, you also get to put a 4/4 Flying Angel token into play. So we've moved pretty far from the classic 4 mana Wraths of old, but if you're willing to invest a little bit more time and mana and diversify your graveyard a bit, you can come out in pretty good shape with this one here. It's my personal belief that this format's going to be a little bit slower than we've had in Battle for Zendikar, right? Give you more time to set up your graveyard, kind of enable these Delirium mechanics. So we also see some smaller creatures featuring things like Skulk. So I think battle is going to be a little bit different. We're going to see life totals change a little bit at a time instead of big swings and big hits coming at you. So you might have some time to actually resolve this. And if you do, you'll be in great shape with that angel sticking around after the fact. Creative deck builders may find a way to actually even use all the exiled creatures as processor fodder for their processors. But even if your opponent doesn't have any creatures on their side, the fact that this creates one for you still means that you could keep it in your deck games 2 and 3. You don't necessarily have to side it out against a creature light strategy.
Sure. So this is a really weird marriage of Final Judgment and Phyrexian Rebirth. Those are 2 cards that saw very little and 0 standard play, respectively. So this one's kind of tough to evaluate without knowing how easy it's going to be for white to achieve Delirium and how relevant exiling all the creatures in play is going to be. Yeah. Final Judgment saw some fringe play because it dealt cleanly with the rare dragon cycle from Champions of Kamigawa. Ulamog's indestructible, so there's at least one body that Descend Upon the Sinful deals with cleanly.
Yep.
But this is just the best card name ever. Descend Upon the Sinful. That's like, I wish they had that at career day.
Yeah.
What do you want to do for a living? I want to descend upon the sinful. It just seems like the best.
Yeah.
Man, this set rules.
Good job security with that one, too.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, who better to descend upon the sinful but the Angel of Deliverance? 6 white for a creature with flying. That's it. Stop right there. No, she's got Delirium. Whenever she deals damage, you get to exile target creature your opponent controls. Now notice that that's not combat damage. That's not even damage to a player. Just whenever she deals damage for any reason, you get to wipe something away.
Also, Deliverance is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, so
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah. So, what do? Well, you untap with Angel of Deliverance, and then if you can use, I don't know, Epic Confrontation, you can make her fight something, and then you get a 2-for-1 out of it. Basically, she's probably gonna kill something in the fight, and she gets to exile something as well. And then you get to attack with her, and hopefully the sky is clear, and you can do more damage and get another trigger. So, we've only seen a few cards in this set, and it feels like white is going to be a better processor enabler than any of the ingest cards from Battle for Zendikar ever were.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep an eye out for cards that fill the graveyard, and many of the key cards seem to kind of hinge on achieving Delirium. So that's what I'm looking for most going forward in Shadows is Delirium enablers.
Sure. So when I see a card like this that says whenever it deals damage and not combat damage, I immediately just try and think of what can I put on this card that is going to break it? What can I do with this card that's going to make it deal damage that doesn't make it get into combat?
Sure.
For better or worse, that's just where my mind goes with it. So
What'd you come up with?
there's Dramoka's Command,
Okay.
and all the other fighters,
Yep.
stuff like that. Nissa's Judgment isn't a fight card, but it deals damage. It lets the angel deal damage. Pathway Arrows. Pathway Arrows is a card we could use. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a 6/6 for 8. It's a lot of mana. So
6/6 with wings for 8.
6/6 with wings for 8. That's true.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on that one.
Sure.
All right. Also in white, we've got Odric Lunarch Marshal.
Sure.
3 in a white gets you a legendary human soldier, and his text box is really big. But basically, it says at the start of each combat, everybody you control gets everybody else's abilities.
Yep.
And he's a 3/3. So this is the kind of card I get the most excited for, right?
A Hill Giant?
Wait a minute. It is a fun build around me creature that can inspire a whole deck, right? And it also gets to revisit a character from the original Innistrad, although he was actually printed at M13, but it still comes from the same plane. So you get to kind of check in on your friends, right? So Odric rewards you for having a team that is well stocked with abilities. So try to get a good mix of things like flying, double strike, trample, vigilance. Those are going to cause maximum headaches for your opponent.
I want a guy with double strike.
I know, right? And I wish he could have existed in Standard at the same time as Chromanticore, because then he would have gotten all that for your whole team. To dream. Also, note that he grants the abilities from the start of combat till the end of the turn. So even if they try to kill him after blockers are locked in or something, your team gets to keep the first strike, lifelink, whatever abilities that they've got. So you don't have to worry about a blowout there. If they do try to kill him at the end of your end step, pre-combat, then you just don't have to swing with anybody. You can't really get trapped or think you're going to be winning a fight and then lose it. There's no blowout potential here with him, I don't think. Yeah, that's all I have to say about Odric.
I mean, the only blowout is if you cast it, right? No, this card really fails the how many words it has to how much it does ratio, but that's okay. It's probably going to be a medium card in Limited, and we'll never see play in a 60-card deck ever, unless you're like my friend Ryan here, you like to build around things. That's
challenge accepted. We're going to do it. Game day, here we come.
All right. I will see you there. All right, so To the Slaughter is a 2B instant, so the converted mana costs 3, and target player sacrifices a creature or a planeswalker, but if you have Delirium, they sacrifice both.
So as I'm sure John will agree, cards that give your opponent a choice in things are usually a raw deal, right?
Yeah.
In this case, they're going to almost always pick a creature, and then they're going to pick their worst creature. So not a great return on your 3-mana investment, but I think this card is designed to be played against control decks that don't really run a lot of creatures and instead prefer to use their planeswalkers as their main win conditions, like Super Friends, stuff like that.
Sure.
In that case, you've managed to hedge your bets, and now you're packing a card that's not necessarily dead weight, as opposed to having something like, say, Murderous Cut stuck in your hand with no targets. Now you've got some flexibility there. So it's just a matter of how much you're willing to pay to get that flexibility when it push comes to shove. I think I'd still prefer to use something like Anguished Unmaking, if possible, but, it's not a terrible card.
Okay, so pre-Magic Origins, Foul Tongue Invocation, like the last comparable edict we have to kind of use as a frame of reference for this card.
Yep.
It was great, and what made it so good against an unsuspecting Standard format was it was good in every matchup. It was good against kind of the mid-range decks that relied on stuff that control decks couldn't normally kill, like Rakshasa Death Dealer. And it was also good against the aggro decks where an edict effect isn't generally good because it came with gain 4 life attached to it. So it got a man and it got you 4 life, which in the breakneck aggro matchups, it was pretty good. Sure. Like Ryan said, To the Slaughter only excels in certain spots. It's going to be interesting to see how a Planeswalker-heavy control deck kind of pops up, if it even does, because To the Slaughter will be great against that kind of deck. My guess, though, is that it's just going to be another kind of weak spell with an awesome name. To the Slaughter. To the Slaughter.
To the Slaughter.
That's action.
That's me bringing Odric to game day.
Yeah. Yes. I can't disagree.
No. Arlen Cord, another Planeswalker.
Yep.
2 red and a green. You get yourself a little werewolf kind of girl thing, woman, lady. I don't know.
Sure. It's a wolf.
It's a wolf. Her +1 gives a creature you control +2/+2, haste and vigilance till end of turn.
That seems awesome.
For 0, you can put a 2/2 green wolf creature token into play and transform
Also
her
awesome.
into Arlen Embraced by the Moon, at which point she has a new set of abilities. Her +1 here is creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. Yep. -1, you get to effectively lightning bolt something and then transform her back.
Wow.
But if you keep her on this side and you get all the way to her ultimate at -6, you get an emblem. Creatures you control have haste, and when they come into play, they deal damage equal to their power to target creature or player. So they give free one-sided fight.
Yeah, so they don't even fight. They just pick something off. Okay.
Yes.
That seems ridiculous.
Seems great, right? So she actually reminds me a lot of Domri Raid from back at Gatecrash, right?
Sure.
So aside from having just the same colors, red and green, both of these walkers, strongly implore you to build a deck that's creature heavy, right?
Yep.
So I suspect highly that it's going to be Arlen here who will be the walker of choice in Shadows over Innistrad over Nahiri, but we've only seen 2 out of the supposed 4 that we know we're getting so far, so we can't pass total judgment yet.
Wait, are we getting 4?
Mark Rosewater has said this set will have 4.
Okay.
Right, so speculations abound. I think Arlen is pretty well positioned, right? We've already got players who are comfortable running red and green creature decks, kind of Tarka red, things like that. So there's already some established groundwork there. But if you take Nahiri, you can kind of explore red and white, which is more going to be like a brewer's paradise. You can come up with something kind of fun and clever there. But they haven't really had a strong showing so far as archetypes go. They've got kind of a little equipment matters sub-theme and kind of a power matters with some of the double strike and enchantment type stuff back in Origins. So kind of a mixed bag there, but overall I would say that Arlen's going to be the Planeswalker to pre-order at this point.
I definitely agree. The card is nuts, but I think it's also designed pretty interestingly. All right, I'm just going to get into it. Ideally, you'll want to flip Arlen immediately and start working towards her ultimate because her ultimate's insane.
Sure.
However, Arlen, Embraced by the Moon's plus ability, rewards you having a bunch of creatures to attack with. Yep. And if you're attacking with a bunch of creatures, you're not protecting your Planeswalker, which means it's just going to get attacked. So what can you do? Arlen Cord's plus ability gives the creature +2/+2 and also vigilance. Vigilance is going to be huge, keeping your guy untapped so that they can potentially block an attacker coming at Arlen Cord.
Sure.
However, once you get Arlen Cord up to 6 loyalty, you still have to take an entire turn to flip it because Transform doesn't work like the Planeswalkers in Origins. It's not removing from play and coming into play. It's just flipping.
She's not a new item, right? So she's still the same card.
And you still can only use a Planeswalker once per turn, no matter if it flipped or whatever. Yep. So you can't transform it and then use an ability on the flip side. It doesn't work like that. So you just have to get Arlen Cord up to 6 loyalty, flip it, pray to all major and minor deities that it lives through your opponent's turn, and then you can snap off the ultimate, and hopefully by that point you've got enough creatures in grip that you can start doing some damage. It's an awesome card, but I really like cards like this. They have a lot of nuance to them. There's a lot of tension in them, and I think it's going to be really fun to play with and against.
I agree. And you mentioned praying to all the major gods there. Obviously, Perforos, Nylea.
Yes.
You gotta.
Yes. Oh man, I forgot the black-green one.
Black-green?
Yeah. It makes snakes.
Farika.
It makes snakes.
I was thinking since Arlen is red and green, you'd want to go with her own red and green guy. Well, anyway. All right, so those are the preview cards we're most interested in so far. Those are the ones we've got for you today, but check back tomorrow. We're going to be doing videos all week long.
Woo!
And we've got even more content on our Facebook page, our Twitter.
Twitter, yeah.
Twitter, we're everywhere. So let us know what cards you're excited for. Head on over to TCGplayer.com. Get your pre-orders in now. I know I'm getting a set of Arlen for sure. Probably Nahiri too because it's a Planeswalker. You gotta have them.
You had to search up something. They're gonna print some absurd equipment in the set.
Yeah,
it's right as rain.
Some really good sword that Odric can carry into battle, and all right,
yeah,
we'll keep
your
working
hill
on
giant
that.
Can carry the sword into battle all at once.
I'll be accepting deck ideas, on the side. Send them to me, and we'll figure out something for game day. Help me win it.
Help me show John how this game is meant to be played. Thanks for watching. We'll see you here next time.
Bye, Internet.